It gives me great pleasure now to bring on board Mr. Vinod Dasari of Eicher Motors to talk about which way the two-wheeler sector is moving and which way things are panning out for the entire auto industry. Mr. Dasari, fantastic to have you back and thank you for joining us. Mr. Dasari, last time when we spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, that time we were in the middle of a lockdown. Now lockdown in a sense is over. That time large part of the supply chain was disrupted. Now very few pockets are looking unstable. So what is your view? Has bad become better or has bad become good?
Well, bad has certainly not become better, but the future looks much better. If the leading indicators are inquiries and bookings, well, that sense, the future looks quite bright. And I'm quite bullish about it.
Mr. Dasari, so let's understand the optimism. Your optimism, is this largely a function of that you are somewhere surprised that the ability of the consumer has come back? I mean, the ability and the desire of Indian consumer has pleasantly surprised us.
No, it is my optimism is based mostly on facts. When we talked last and told you about an uptick in inquiries and booking, we were also thinking that it was largely because of pent up demand. So we actually called up some 200 people saying, were you planning in April and were you just planning to buy now? And we saw that two things. One, it was the demand was widespread. It was not just one little location or one particular model. It was widespread. And second, we noticed that people were not just doing it for pent up. And we thought, okay, the proof of the pudding will be what will happen in July. July was better than in bookings than um, uh, June, and August is 20% better than July. So that's in that sense, it's pretty good.
Fair point, Mr. Dasari, but while most of the companies are using the pre-COVID level as a benchmarking reference to give us a guidance and is to give us a sense of normalization, do you think it should be viewed slightly differently for the auto industry? Because 2019 itself was a tough year for the auto industry. So do you think rather than talking about pre-COVID levels, we should be talking about 2018 or beginning 2019 levels to judge the real demand?
No, I mean, we had a 19-20% drop last year, right? I mean, compared to the year before. FY 19-20 was about 18% lower than FY 18-19. And then there was a sudden collapse for everybody. So first is to recover back to that level. And then from there, go back to the previous highs. So we certainly have the plans in place. The best part about Eicher Motor, I'm a new guy here, so I feel blessed sometimes to work in a company which has 6,500 crores in cash, very profitable product line. So you don't have to worry about short term, some crazy actions or something like that. We can continue to do our long term actions. So that's what's helping us. And you're right, we don't have to look at pre-COVID levels. That's just a stepping stone. It's a milestone. And after that, we'll think about something much larger.
So Dasari, if I really have to, let's say, draw a conclusion based on your remarks of demand, will I be wrong if I say that you're confident of reaching pre-COVID levels later this year or second half of this year? But for Eicher to reach, let's say, the 2019 beginning levels or 2018 level, that mark is at least 12 to 18 months away, and it will not happen before 2000. It will not happen in 2020. It will only happen somewhere in 2021.
I think we'll reach pre-COVID levels this month, not this year. And then the run rate, if you see, I think we'll be higher in the second half than last year, in my opinion.
Now the challenge for the two-wheeler industry and the entire auto industry is that supply chain. Now, auto manufacturing is a very complex, it's a very complex supply chain where auto ancillary, auto components, all manufacturers have to come together. Given that right now, large parts of Maharashtra and some parts of northern India are still under lockdown, how has that really impacted your manufacturing, and especially your manufacturing, and how has your manufacturing plant got impacted?
Well, we don't have for Royal Enfield, all our manufacturing facilities are in Chennai. And so we only have supply chains that come from Maharashtra, and we have backup for them in Chennai. So in Chennai, because we had a period of lockdown and inter-district movement was little restricted, we used our company buses. We created a hostel. We did all kinds of stuff to let the employees come in. So Chennai-based supply chain was able to come in. So from nothing, we've been able to ramp up to nearly 50-60% of our capacity. The suppliers who are in Pune and Ahmedabad, there are hardly any which are single source. There's also a backup. So Maharashtra, we don't have plants. What was affecting us was some suppliers who have limited capacity there and don't have a backup. Unfortunately, like I was saying earlier, Nikunj, we don't have any imports. We were Atmanirbhar from day one.
So, Mr. Dasari, looks like things are normalizing and inventory levels are low. So, in and around festival season, do you expect that the demand would really unleash? Because the current environment is that right now the desire to consume is not over. Interest rates and lower interest rates have increased affordability and inventory levels are low. So are we in for a huge pent up demand, let's say in and around festival season or post that?
Absolutely. We sold 40,000 odd vehicles in July. My bookings are more than what I sold in July. And my dealer inventory is less than a week. So I just have to produce more. And fortunately, it's catching up now because the supply chain disruptions are slowly getting handled.
You are a Atmanirbhar manufacturing company. Your dependence on imports is rather low. But given that government currently is focusing on giving a boost to the Indian manufacturing sector, is there a conscious strategy which you are working on that whatever limited exposure you have on imports, that's going to be diluted completely in coming years?
Well, we have always been Atmanirbhar. We had very little portion of our stuff that was imported. And in some cases, what was imported was actually used for a specific model for exports. So I know this government has recently taken steps to curtail a lot of imports, which is good to some extent. But if the import is to enable India to export, I'll give you one example. Suddenly, all tire imports were banned. Okay, so that we promote local and all of that. Very good. I've always been a big supporter of the tire industry in India. They make good tires. But there are certain markets which require a specific tire make, like a Pirelli or something like that. So we import that, we put it on a vehicle, and we export that. So now with sudden ban, I can't export that. So a tire is like 5% of the vehicle. So because of that 5% vehicle, I can't sell the whole vehicle. So I think we've asked the government that please consider those items which I'm using only for export markets. Some markets might say I need something like this. So Atmanirbhar is the right approach holistically, but I think we also have to go down to the detail to make sure that it is done right.
Mr. Dasari, the two-wheeler industry globally is a very competitive industry, and frankly, this is one industry where the entire industry has managed to have a remarkable mark on the export map, whether it is Eicher, Bajaj, or Hero MotoCorp. Given the complexity of supply chain which is involved and the engineering skill which is required in the two-wheeler industry, I want to ask a simple question: that why, if the Indian two-wheeler industry can be globally competitive, so what is that they are doing right which others are not doing right? And if two-wheeler industry can achieve a global scale and global edge, why can't others achieve the same?
A very good question. If you look at the two-wheeler makers, you know, from day one, when I was on, even in Siam, as when I was the president at Siam, and this Make in India came up, I said, Make in India will only be successful if we have design in India. Two-wheeler industry to me is successful. Commercial vehicle industry in India is successful. Even commercial vehicles, we are the most efficient and effective commercial vehicle manufacturers in the world. Nobody can make it at the same cost levels that we can. Just like in two-wheeler industry, nobody else in the world can make it at the efficiency and effectiveness. When I say effectiveness, at the quality, world-class quality at world-class cost, nobody in the world can match it, because both of these are designed and manufactured in India. Whereas if you look at cars, look at all the top brands, they're mostly foreign companies where the design is coming to India. We are doing pretty much manufacturing here and selling it in India. So I don't want to name them, and huge amount of royalty goes out of India. We are the only country which I believe does not have a cap on royalty. So if you have a cap on royalty, then more and more design will have to be done in India. And that would slowly but surely promote more local, more Atmanirbhar. So I am a firm believer that Make in India, like Atmanirbhar, will only be successful if we also push design in India. You look at a number of engineering firms or design firms in India, negligible compared to the size that we have. Still, most of the designs in the world are coming from Tokyo or Detroit or places like that, or Stuttgart. We should have India-centric places where India is a place for design, and then manufacturing will become that much better.
Mr. Dasari, if I look at Eicher, in last 10 years, the company was positioning margins. The company has managed to become a Nifty 50 stock. It has created tremendous amount of wealth for shareholders. So given the encouraging performance and the profitability track record, do you think next 5 years could be a bit of a challenge for Eicher Motors to maintain the same growth rate, maintain the certain hurdle rate, because the benchmarks now are higher? Eicher up until now usually benefited largely because of the change in phenomenon where the urban consumer wanted to buy RE for experience. But now you think expansion, reach, those are going to be challenging areas for you?
So the success of RE has been truly storybook. There is no other automobile company in the world which has, for such a sustainable period, had such a fantastic growth with such level of profitability. So my predecessors have done a fantastic job and given me a platform from which to operate on, which is quite safe. At the same time, if I look beyond, majority of our sales were coming only from India, that too from one platform, and that too from one model, and mostly from one color. So that is risky. So what we need to do is to significantly expand our range, significantly expand our reach, not just in India, but even in India, most of our sales were coming from top 8 cities. Now we are expanding to the hinterland. We are expanding significantly outside India, some 600 odd outlets outside India already. We are expanding into solutions. We're doing a lot more things on digital. And we truly want to be a global player. And when I say global, global doesn't mean just that I go and plant my flags everywhere. Global means three things. Global in terms of presence in the markets that are most difficult. We export to North America and Europe, and we're now, and to Korea. Korea is a fast growing market for us. We're now opening one in Japan also, an outlet. So presence in some of the most sophisticated markets in the world. What we sell in India, we sell there. Second is to achieve that, you need global level of excellence in product, in quality, in service, and so on. And third is you need global level of scale. So we are at about 1 billion and we flattened it, we plateaued over there. We need to take it up significantly to become a global level of scale. And that is the core foundation of what we internally call as RE 2.0.